Very fast read. Kind of a dick. Kind of stupid. The vibes are vibing. She made some choices that I thought were kind of questionable. There has been a betrayal. I devoured this book, okay? Excuse me, betrothal? Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kerri. I'm super excited because in this video we're going to be doing a reading vlog, and not only a reading vlog, but a witchy reading vlog. So for this reading vlog, I am only going to be reading witch-themed books, which is why I have my cute little witch's hat that actually has been in the back of my closet getting crumpled for like a year now, so don't mind that. I have already picked out the books that I'm planning to read this week. I have 3. I might not get through them all because I am starting this video a day late since I have been super sick, which you're probably actually so tired of hearing about by now. Like, it's been the past 3 videos that I filmed that I've been talking about being sick. You're probably like, oh my god, we get it. You've been sick. Give it a rest already. But no, I won't. I'm miserable and I'd love for you to hear about it. I've got 3 books and I'm very excited. I'm hoping I'm going to get to all of them. But I've got the Ex Hex by Erin Sterling. Kind of like a witchy rom-com with a hex that's gone awry on an X. Ex Hex. Exactly. We've got Kingdom of the Feared. This one is the final book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I don't know if it has a different name, but this one's the final book. It's by Kerri Maniscalco. I really loved the first 2, and I don't know why I haven't picked up the 3rd one yet. I've been dying to pick this up, so I'm really excited to read that. I might listen to this one on audiobook just because I know that it's available to listen to for free on Spotify right now. So that might be an audiobook for me, depending on how the week goes. We also have The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher. I actually don't know much about this book. I saw it recommended in one of Bailey's recent videos. She said it was super funny, and I really love a funny book, so I'm very excited for this one. Also, it's short as all heck. I do think that the first book that I'm going to start reading is The Ex Hex by Erin Sterling, just because my friend Keisha also got this book and was really excited to read it. So if I don't read it this month, I'm gonna really let her down. So we're gonna read this book first. It's also available on Kindle Unlimited, which is probably how I'm going to read it. So let's tuck right into that. I'm back to talk about the Ex Hex. I did start reading it already, and I'm on, hang on, I've been reading it on my Kindle, so that physical book is gonna tell me nothing. Okay. I'm literally on page 100, so I think there's 300 pages in this book, almost exactly. Let's see, 305, something like that. So pretty close to 300, but I'm at about 1/3 of the way through the book. I don't know if I already talked about what this book is about, but the Ex Hex is about a young witch named Vivian who was dating Reese? I don't know. It really doesn't matter. But dating Rise, who's also a witch, and he kind of was betrothed to another witch by his father. And so after 3 months of dating, this was like, oh, I'm going to call off my betrothal. Told Vivian about it, and Vivian's like, excuse me, betrothal? This is the first I'm hearing about it. And so she broke off their relationship, obviously, and then kind of drunkenly pretended to curse him. So it's 9 years later. He travels back to Penhollow in order to charge the ley lines, which are kind of like the source of magic for this small town. And while he's there, things start going nuts because 9 years ago, she cursed him. So I would say these first 90 pages, really almost nothing happens. There are a couple scenes where it kind of works to build up the obvious animosity that Vivian has towards Rise because of their breakup, but I really don't feel like the characters are like that well fleshed out, and it didn't really feel like much was happening. I definitely felt like there could have been more witchy stuff happening. It was very light on the witchy stuff, but it kind of painted a picture of the town overall. It did go by really quickly. It really felt more like 50 pages in the past 10 pages, I'm now on page 100, things did start happening. Basically, like, while Rise was trying to charge the ley lines, something went wrong, and so now things are going awry in town, right? And I'm sure that they're gonna try to solve this somehow and fall in love while doing so. I will say I want a little bit more witchiness from it. Hopefully a little bit more action too, which I think we're gonna get, but we'll see. I'm gonna finish this book today, honestly, because I really only have 200 pages more to go, and I think that I'm gonna read it super fast. It's a very, very fast read. So I'll probably see you when I finish the book. I'm back to update this witchy reading vlog. I finished the Ex Hex. I want to preface this by saying I am almost never a fan of a rom-com. Even in movies, I don't really like rom-coms. I usually want something like a little bit more high stakes or like maybe a little bit more emotional depth. So this maybe was not a book that I would enjoy a lot, and in fact I did not really enjoy this book very much. I want to say it was fun, however I do feel like it took a lot of effort for me to get through this book. I was pretty continuously bored while reading this and kept wanting to pick up a different book instead, but I toughed it out. There wasn't much in the way of plot during my last check-in with this guy. That did change a little bit around the 50% mark. I feel like things got a little bit more interesting right around that point. The relationship between the two characters, Vivi and Rise, felt like all of their connection and chemistry was based off of this previous relationship that they had had 9 years ago, where they were together for 3 months, and it kept getting brought up and put on this like pedestal, and it really just kind of made me question the main characters, especially the main female character. In all honesty, she made some choices that I thought were kind of questionable, like getting her master's in Welsh history because Rice, the main love interest, was from Wales, which to me is not something that you do if you are a mentally whole and sane person after breaking up with somebody that you were with for 3 months. It felt like all of the chemistry and their entire relationship was based off of this 3 months that they had dated 9 years ago, and so since you didn't really get any of that in the book, it wasn't believable for the first good chunk of it. There was a point around the 75% mark where I felt like that did change, and it felt like their chemistry was more based off of their current relationship, and they were vibing a little bit more, and their relationship was a lot more believable, but it was kind of rocky getting there at first. The whole magical hex situation I felt like was the most interesting part of the book. At the 50% mark, it really felt like things were starting to go wrong, and they were running around town trying to fix these little things, and that was a lot more fun than the first half of the book was for me, but it still was just so low stakes, and they didn't really spend very much time on that overall, so it wasn't enough to get me seriously invested in this book, really. The ending was a little bit glossed over. It really felt like the ending was too convenient almost. So I think I'm gonna give this guy a rating of 2.5 stars, which is a little unfortunate. But again, romantic comedies are really just not for me. And then also their relationship dynamic was just not for me either. So it may be a book that you really enjoy, especially if you're into romantic comedies. I feel like a lot of people do really like this book, so 2.5 stars for me, but maybe a 5-star read for you. That's all we're gonna say about the Ex Hex. Immediately after finishing the Ex Hex, I picked up the Bone Witch, and I could tell an immediate difference in my level of interest and engagement with this book. I flew through the first 50 pages. It's funny, which I like, and I just feel like the action has just been flowing for the first 50 pages, which is really nice. So this book is at Lenox. She's a witch. In this world, the power osteomancy, I believe, passes in a bloodline of witches by a sack of bones. Basically, when the osteomancer of the family dies, that title is then and that role is then passed on to another person in the witch bloodline. And so this main character, Lennox, ends up getting chosen by the bones. The bones themselves choose. I'm pretty sure the bones are like the ancestors kind of making their choice. She ends up getting chosen by the bones to be her family's next osteomancer, which I don't know if I'm actually saying that correctly. She was not expecting this. She and her entire family thought that it was going to be going to somebody else. So she's very surprised when this happens. She, at the point that I'm at, has just kind of completed a few steps to take over this new role as the osteomancer for her family, and has encountered this man named Rogan. Rogan is also a witch. He's a blood witch in his family, and his brother, who's the osteomancer of his family, has gone missing, and so he needs her help, but to do that has bound her to him as his familiar. So she's pissed off about that, obviously. He didn't ask her first. He's kind of a dick, not gonna lie. And that has all already happened in the first 50 pages of the book. So I'm very much excited to see where the rest of this book goes. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a pretty good mystery element in this book. I do love a good mystery plot in a fantasy romance. I feel like it really just ups ante. And I'm gonna just get back to reading. The last time I checked in, I was probably 50 pages into The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher. I devoured this book, okay? I finished it, I don't know, at like midnight last night, which is quite late for me, not gonna lie. I stayed up very late to read this, but I needed to read the whole thing. I just could not put it down. This book, I forget exactly what I said in my last initial check-in for this book, but this book was hilarious, okay? I was giggling the entire time I read this book. It was funny, it had a good amount of action, it felt like there was constantly something happening, but the things that were happening weren't overly complicated and didn't require a lot of depth, so it felt like you could wrap your head around everything that was happening, even though it was coming at you pretty fast. I am always a female main character supporter, okay? It takes a lot for me to dislike a female main character, and there was nothing for me to dislike in the case of this book, in all honesty, okay? She was funny, she had her flaws, but she was very honest and forthright about them, and they were just realistic, normal human flaws, right? She was awkward, she was kind of like that foot in the mouth, klutzy kind of FMC, which, not everybody loves, but I definitely do not mind. And she is powerful, okay? I like a female main character who can take care of herself, and I feel like she was smart. Some of the things that she did when it came time to use her magic to defend herself were just so smart. I feel like she was able to get the upper hand in situations because she really used her brain. The male main character in this book, Rogan, I love him, okay? Kind of a dick, kind of stupid, but he was the I'll take care of you kind of guy. What is the term for that kind of guy? I don't know, but he's taking her bag, carrying it for her, making sure that she has food, that kind of behavior, taking care of her. I love that kind of male main character, not gonna lie. I was like, oh my gosh, how nice. He cares so much. Another thing too, their tension, fantastic. It did not overwhelm the story, okay? They obviously were into each other. I mean, it's a romantasy, right? Obviously they're into each other. It did not take up the whole story, and just really added to it, I will say. It really felt like the plot was doing its own thing, and then the romance was just kind of speckled in there a little bit. It was not a plot for the sake of the romance. I really liked them together. I thought that they were freaking super cute together. Also, the male main character, Rogan, was kind of a little sad, you know? You kind of feel sorry for him a little bit. And it just feels like their relationship really makes him happier. One thing I will note, there's a big cliffhanger in this, okay? And so there are some things that people do that I am like, how are they going to come back from this? Literally don't know. I will find out soon though, because I am ordering book number 2 immediately because I really, really, really want to finish this series. This guy right here getting a 4.25 stars. I'm really excited to continue along with these characters, and I'm very happy that I picked this book up. I was debating getting the second book in that series and just reading that for the third book in this witchy reading vlog, but I have this guy, and I've been putting this off for far too long. Okay, this is Kingdom of the Feared. It is the third book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy by Kerri Maniscalco. I loved the first 2 books. I can't remember exactly what I rated them, and I don't have anything to look at my Goodreads right now, but I'm pretty sure they were both really close to 5 stars for me. So I don't know why I've been putting this one off. I think I kind of wanted to drag it out, you know, not finish the series too quickly. But I've waited like 2 months since the last book that I read in this one. I think it was Kingdom of the Curse. And I do feel like I've forgotten a few things, so I'm kind of catching up a little bit in the beginning of the book. I've been listening to it on audiobook. I'm like on chapter 2. So it's really early in the book, and I'm just remembering where we're at with things. I'm obviously not going to tell you what the premise of this one is about because it's number 3 in the series. The first book is about Amelia, who's a witch. She has a twin sister. She basically finds her twin sister after she has been brutally unalived. She vows to avenge her sister, and so to do that she tries to summon a demon because her sister was kind of dabbling in some kind of weird darker magic before her death. She ends up summoning a demon to help her and ends up summoning one of the 7 princesses of hell, Prince Wrath. She's always been told summoning a demon is not something that witches should be doing, and also if you ever encounter a prince of hell, basically just run. Basically, get away from them as fast as freaking possible. Some things have happened. There has been a betrayal, a big betrayal actually, and it is not between the love interests, which is kind of rare, I feel. I do not know how this is going to go with that huge betrayal. I don't think that there's coming back from it, honestly. I think that that relationship between those two people is severed. I'm very interested to keep reading. I don't want to say I'm excited to finish the series because I do really like it, but I am excited to see what happens, and it is always nice to finish a series. It always feels like you've completed something. I'm currently listening to it on audiobook just because I've got a ton of chores to do today, lots of deep cleaning, all that fun stuff. I'm gonna get back to that, and I'll probably check in with you guys later. Okay, I'm back with an update on Kingdom of the Feared. I'm on page 187. The vibes are vibin'. I have been so freaking busy this week. I have not gotten a ton of reading done in the last day, 2 days probably, and I have just been thinking about how much I want to pick this freaking book up because it is such a fun time, and I'm so happy to be back with these characters. In the first book, there is a lot that is kind of thrown at you about a curse and a prophecy. You're just given this information and it doesn't all necessarily click at first, especially in the first book. And then in the third book, there is just so much more thrown at you and you're kind of figuring out little bits and pieces that you were probably still questioning in that first book. The way that it's all tied together feels really cohesive. It does feel like it was
purely intentional, and this was the author's intent from the first book. It feels like the story is cohesive from first book to third book. Even though the story is quite different, there's still all these bits and pieces that tie back into the first book. That is not to say there aren't a few potential plot holes. Obviously, I haven't finished it yet, so I'm really hoping that some of these questions and some of the things that seem like they don't necessarily make sense or tie into the information that's being given to us will be cleared up and tied together in the last 150 pages of this book. That is my hope. It does really seem like there is a lot more that is going to be revealed. There is still kind of this big mystery going on that I am excited to figure out the answers to. The biggest thing that I would say is maybe a flaw at this point in this book is the fact that the stakes seem really low. The main conflict really just seems to be this big decision that she needs to make, and the fact that she needs to figure out some things and like uncover some truths before she can really make this big decision. Right now, it really feels like all of the conflict parts of the story are just like a big nuisance. You know, it doesn't really hold a lot of weight. It doesn't really feel like there's any actual danger to it. While that kind of can be bad in a story because you don't necessarily have something that's like keeping you as captivated, I do feel like in this case, because we're on book 3, we love these characters now, or at least I love these characters now. It's nice. It's nice for them to just be able to be somewhat happy and not have to fear for their lives. That's nice. I love that when that happens. You know, it's almost like a cozy fantasy, but not quite. There's still some actual very real stakes. So I'm probably gonna finish it tonight, but I'll probably be laying in bed reading my Kindle. I may not give you guys my final thoughts on it until tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, depending on how busy I am. I'm gonna get to reading and have a bunch of fun. I finished Kingdom of the Feared by Kerri Maniscalco, and I really want to talk about it with you guys. Obviously, this was the third book in a series. It was the final book in a trilogy, so I'm not really going to talk about what happened too much. I am going to just kind of let you know how I felt about things. I will say, out of all 3 of the books, this one was my least favorite. I loved the first 2 books. They were a lot of fun. Not to say that this one wasn't a lot of fun, but this one just had some serious plot holes, unfortunately, and it really just felt like the stakes were never there. I will say I am emotionally invested in these characters. So I was so happy to just kind of sit with them through these final events where they're trying to tie up loose ends and, you know, just live their lives out together. There was another murder mystery plotline that Amelia was trying to solve in this one. While that was fun, it really felt like it was filler in order to maybe tie it back into the first one with the murder mystery plot that was in the first one. Even though they were so unrelated, I felt like the book would have been fine without the murder mystery plot. You could have gotten rid of a lot of those things and the book would have totally been okay. I felt like Amelia was focused in a lot of situations on getting information about the murder mystery, where she actually should have been way more focused on getting information and or dealing with this other really big thing that needed to be dealt with. Because of that, it really just made this book feel kind of low stakes. It felt like we were trying to solve this and trying to solve that. We were just bouncing around from too many different things. It didn't feel like there was enough time to really take anything super seriously. One good thing that I really enjoyed about this book was how solid the romantic relationship between Amelia and the male main character was. There was no trying to pull them apart in this book. There was really nothing standing in their way except for one big thing, but it felt like it would be dealt with. It felt like they finally just got to be together, and it felt like their relationship was really solid. They were able to support each other and figure things out together, which I really appreciate. I hate it when we get to a last book and the author tries to rip apart the two characters. I want some time to be able to see characters just be together and exist and be happy. And you really got that in this book, which makes my day. That makes me so happy. There were a lot of mystery elements that were needing to be figured out, and a lot of information ended up getting dumped on you. It really did feel like some of the reveals caused plot holes. They were potentially too convenient and just thought up last minute in order to kind of give resolution to a mystery aspect, but it created some plot holes, and it really just made me question things like how well thought out some of these things were, and if they actually worked well. It felt like not everything was tied up super thoughtfully, unfortunately. I will say I still really enjoyed this guy. If you really liked the first two books in this series, obviously don't skip the ending, you know, figure out what happens with these characters. If you weren't a big fan of the first two though, I would say you can go ahead and skip this and just DNF the series, because it was definitely not the best one. And in all honesty, what it added, in my personal opinion, was just getting to see the two characters interact, potentially make some more friendships, and just have a good time. I do think that I'm gonna rate this guy 3.75 stars. I don't know if that's the most accurate rating. It was a little bit disappointing, unfortunately, but I still love these characters so much, so I don't want to dock it too much, and I still love the series so much. I will say for me, it's definitely a 4-star series. It's definitely worth the time I spent reading it. So that concludes my witchy reading vlog. I had a lot of fun filming this, and I had a lot of fun with the books that I ended up reading. We did have a few slightly disappointing books in this reading vlog. However, one of the books that I read, The Bone Witch, was a fantastic read, and I'm very excited that I'm going to get to continue on with that series. So I'll call it a win. I hope you had a great time watching this. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!